Welcome, Tiny Hands, Big Dreams, here in southern Ecuador. People always ask us, like, what's the weather like there? Like, it is. There's lots of it. How's the weather where you are? It's the thing about weather. It's different in every different place. So we're going to talk about a bit of what the weather's like here, where it is in some other parts of Ecuador, and how you can find the place that you want to live.
And this is part of the Why Ecuador series. We wanted to kind of get into the details of some of the reasons why we moved here, instead of just broad strokes, but really kind of dig in and get into the details of a subject, in this case weather, which sounds boring, but it's not boring because it affects everything in your life.
It affects everything in your life every single day, sometimes drastically. Wherever you are, hi there. We came from the US. We came from a northern hemisphere temperate kind of place. There is definite seasons. There's winters, there's summers. California, yes, but less so. There was snowboarding season and swimming season. I mean, but what we've noticed, and it was partly part of the reason we chose to leave the US, is the higher variability of extreme weather that is happening.
We're sort of nerds about it. I'm very much a weather nerd. I
Yep.
enjoy watching weather patterns.
People will argue about what's causing it. This is not that video.
Honestly, I don't care. It doesn't matter.
The fact that it is changing, there's more extreme storms, there's out of season heat, out of season cold, that blows up your crops.
And you may think like, oh, that doesn't affect me because I'm somewhere. It will affect you. It will always affect you because, I mean, we saw there were feed prices went up. Animal feed prices went up because somewhere half the country away, there's a drought or
Weird,
a flood,
yeah.
or
corn got slammed one way and they said it was going to be the worst ever, and then it flipped the other way and they said it was a great season. Frosts happen and kill all the blossoms, or an out of season warm will kill all the blossoms on fruit trees.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, on the equator, you get the northern, there's these giant spinning kind of vortices that they're huge, and they wrap the globe. They spin opposite ways. In the equator, you sort of get the mixing of the two, which means this one gets all crazy and your jet stream goes wonky and the thing goes this, and then the southern hemisphere has sort of the same thing, and it gets like this. And near the middle is just this buffer zone that is mildly affected by both. Pulled a little this way and a little that way. So an extreme here is like, ooh, it's 10 degrees cooler this time of year versus last year. And that's considered extreme.
I mean, that being said, we have had, for us, extreme temperature changes in the past couple weeks. It has been, we're going to say cold.
It's cold. It's downright cold.
Obviously, it's not really cold.
We have to explain what cold means now.
It's not cold.
It's in the 60s.
Low 70s, maybe. Nights get into the 50s. Now, no, that's not cold, but when that is 10 degrees cooler than normal, it does affect things. Are my peppers going to do well that I put out? No, they're kind of sad. Is tent living as comfortable now? No.
Yeah, Miss One Blanket over here is regretting that one blanket.
A little cold the last week or so.
I'm surviving with my 3 blankets, but I'll do that year round, so that doesn't matter. But where we live is a place that I have lived in a pair of jeans and a t-shirt every day of the year, pretty much without exception, unless I'm going to Loja, and then I might need a sweatshirt.
And on Sundays when we go to Yanzaza, it's usually shorts.
Shorts.
It's a little warmer there.
Yeah, and I'm quite happy in shorts. So let's talk about some of the places, maybe.
Well, sure. I mean, what was the main driving force with the weather where we have ended up?
So our particular location, and as we've said before in our off-grid video, water. You will die without water. You have to have a source of water.
We also talked about, we did a video on the pick your poison.
Yes.
Trying to decide where in the world to live.
Which is a really good video.
It's important.
Everywhere has its issues, from crime to drugs to political dramas to this to, weather. You pick your poisons. You find the least amount of things that you think are the least bad. we really liked here. We get sufficient rain that there's always water. The springs always work. We always have water for the plants, the animals. It works out. There are places in Ecuador that are vastly different and not that far away. Loja is cold right now. Very cold.
So cold for us.
It's a cool place. Like, everyone wears jackets on a normal basis, and it drops a little bit in temperature, and now it is cold. Other places, you get into Catameo, Catameo can be freakishly hot and dry. Like,
very desert-like.
it will suck the moisture out of your dash. Like, you just watch it crack.
Impressive.
Yeah, it reminds me of, like, Vegas sometimes. Then you get the wind. People don't talk about the wind as part of the weather, but if there's a windy season, I hate wind.
We did not know there was a windy season in the Loja, Vilcabamba sort of area.
Nobody talks about that.
Just didn't know when we came. The first time we came,
like, constant for days kind of wind on it.
Yeah, when we came on our exploratory trip, like, I don't know, like 5 years ago or something now, we came in June. We thought it didn't matter when we came. Shouldn't matter.
It's all the same.
So windy. It was
the windows rattle.
windy.
The little cracks in the windows, like, you feel it across the room.
And then when we moved here, it was the same time of year, and it was north of Loja was incredibly windy.
Yeah, nobody has heaters. Nobody has furnaces. Buildings are not sealed because it's always pleasant.
Except for when it's not.
People are also very economical, so why spend money on those things?
And that may not bother some people. I know that it isn't a big deal to some, but for us, the wind was just really unpleasant.
It gave us headaches. Like, it was just this constant, like, I'm sorry.
It's hard on crops, too. We were trying to come up with, like, because we had intended to be living in that area, we were trying to come up with ways to break the wind.
We were growing in an old swimming pool.
It worked.
Because it was below ground and the wind would, like, miss it.
Yeah. So there's definitely wind to consider, which most people just think about, I don't know, rainfall and temperature, but man, wind is important.
So, yeah, if people talk about there's a windy season in a place you're looking at, understand that, ask more questions about that, decide if that's for you.
Now, it is year-round growing in a large portion of the country.
Yeah.
Not the whole country.
Your elevations, your higher elevations, of course, cooler than your lower elevations. Your sun is of different, there's different amount of sun days, solar hours. There's also, like, Loja versus where we are is higher elevation. I want to say it was 6,000 feet, 2,000 meters.
Like that.
And we're at 1,000. Now, the difference is there's an extra 1,000 meters of moist air in between us and the sun, and that actually filters out quite a bit of UV sun. In Loja, on a 70-degree sunny day, we're like, oh, it's nice. We go outside, and your skin, we were burnt.
Instant sunburn.
Yeah, burnt just in minutes. We're like, wow, we really can't be outside without sunscreen. Then we come here, and we're like, we have never finished the last bottle of sunscreen.
Even though it is more sunny here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are more days of sun here than Loja. It's just
there's more natural humidity to block it as a factor.
Yeah. Daylight hours?
We didn't realize, you read about daylight hours, like, oh, it's the same all the time, and you read about it. It's not visceral, it's not something, until you realize years have rolled by and you've lost the sense of time of, like, what year is it? Like that crazy old man wakes up from a slumber.
It may only be a you problem. I don't know about that.
She laughs at me a lot. Anyway, there's the natural markers.
There's no delineations
Yes.
between, like,
winter, spring, summer, fall, winter. No. It just
is.
It rains sometimes, a couple days, and it doesn't. A couple days, it's a little warmer, a little cooler, and they seem to be interspersed pretty regular. There's no daylight savings time. Thank God, I hated that. Everybody hates that.
The only problem is everyone that I talk to still has daylight savings. So I'm like, my mom, I'm like, are you the same time or a different time? I don't know. I still have to pay attention.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. You don't realize how silly it is. until you're out of it, and then it just becomes more ridiculous.
But the sun's up the same, within minutes,
Yeah.
the same time every day of the year, and it goes down the same time every day of the year.
I think there's a swing of like 6 or 7 minutes maybe throughout the year. It doesn't matter. Now, I sort of thought maybe that would be weird. Maybe I would miss that. Maybe I miss like the long summer days and no, I like it. As someone who needs routine in life, we have animals. We have things that are dependent upon daylight. So I was always used to when the animals get put away at night would just shift through the whole year. So you couldn't just do it at a time. It was always, well, is it dark yet? Oh, it got dark really early today.
It's 9:30 at night, and the chickens aren't away yet.
Right? Or they're up really early because it's 4:35. No, we're going.
Crowing at 3 a.m.
Well, they do that here, but that's different. But it was something that I didn't realize. See? It was something I didn't realize would be really beneficial homesteading. Raising animals. Everything just happens at the same time. So we just always get up at the same time. We always put the animals away at the same time. Everything is just the same time. So there's nothing, I don't know, it's very easy.
Yeah, your internal clock just...
It just is.
It just is.
And somehow that just feels very easy. Now, do I occasionally miss the long summer days where we could get more done at night? Yes. I don't miss the short winter days.
Yeah.
And you can't have only long days because then you won't sleep enough.
Yeah.
So,
you'll just burn out and die.
Yeah. So I'll take this. This is a nice... It's kind of the same as the weather. It's
We get
middle ground.
enough vitamin D naturally year-round from the sun.
Seems like it.
Yeah. But there's a lot of people that don't. And they get grumpy. I used to work retail, and you could always tell, come around January, February, March. This was up the Pacific Northwest. People are grumpy.
February was the worst month. It's just the worst month.
There's just a generalized grumpiness that creeps up, and then as daylight comes back, everyone sort of like mellows out, and by like May, June, everyone's all great again. I'm like, y'all need to take some more vitamin D.
So it's vitamin D, but I think there's also a psychological part of it. It's just gray all the time. You can't go out and do it. It's just gray and wet all the time.
That's true.
So I had someone actually ask, who happened to be from the Pacific Northwest, about the amount of rainfall here and whether that has sort of the same effect as the Pacific Northwest. No. It can rain for days, and while it might put a damper, literally, on the things that we do, it doesn't have that same gray, cold, wet effect, because we are not cold. Even when we complain about it, we're really not cold. It is typically a warmer rain.
Yeah. You pretty much live in shorts.
Unless I go outside, and then I don't wear shorts.
Yeah.
Because I don't like bugs. That's it. Shorts or long pants, tank top, always.
Yeah, so it's where we are is freakishly comfortable 90+% of the year.
Yeah.
There are some days when we first moved here, it was hot.
We happened to move in like the hottest wave of the hottest month. Oh, it was awful.
But there's two different heats. There's the heat of you're outside, you're trying to do stuff, you're doing garden work, you're in the sun. And then there's you can pause for a minute during a hot part of the day and just sit in like shade on a porch in a house, and you're like, actually it's actually lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even in the high 80s at that point, you're like, no, I'm alright. I can just sit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't get that hot here very often.
Mostly we're in the 70s.
Yeah.
Of some either low or high variety depending on the season. And
Now that's just where we are. And that is not just the area that we are, that is the exact valley we're in.
Now
we go to Yantzaza an hour away, and it is different.
It's different. There's a little less rain, it's a little warmer. Loha's generally just colder and grayer year round.
Well, so there are three general areas of Ecuador. There's the Costa, which is sort of the coast to the mountains, the Sierra, which is the mountains, and then we're in the Amazonia.
Right.
Orient.
And then all the microclimates therein.
And the microclimates are, there are microclimates and then there are microclimates. People talk about microclimates. People talked about that when we moved here and we were looking for property.
Yeah.
And I don't think I understood just how small that could be.
So just outside of Vilca, out the valley there is Tumianuma, Kinara, out that way, where there's the season where it's warm and rains a bit and everything greens up. And then there's the season where it is hot and dry and the earth turns to concrete. Yep.
And
that's the seasons there. Now, over the mountain, like the other way, it is slightly different. Over the mountain that way, it is different again. It affects things. It affects what you can do, what time of year. It affects your soils. Affects the kind of house you're going to build.
It's true. But I think it's also, you know, we might talk badly about somewhere where it's dry because we don't like that. But there are also people who enjoy living in a desert.
That's true.
I don't understand it.
People love,
if that's the way they want.
Arizona, New Mexico has a dedicated following of people that like, no, they want to turn into the wrinkly lizard by 70 years old.
Be nice.
They're lovely people mostly.
But the thing is that I think that's sort of the beauty of Ecuador. Unless you want, 6 months of snowy winter, you can find any climate in the country.
Yes.
Sorry, there's not going to be any snow, really, unless you go up to the mountain peaks, but you're not going to live there. As long as you don't want that, I think you can find probably any climate.
Yeah.
In the country.
It's pretty crazy with the variability that you can find.
If you go up to Cuenca, Quito, the higher elevations, you're chilly. Like you're cold. And you may want that. And
some people like that, and we buy a lot of cruciferous vegetables from up there.
Well, from just north of Loja.
Yeah.
The elevation starts.
Cauliflowers, broccolis, things. They grow great up there.
Potatoes.
Here?
Not as good.
Not as good.
So there are lots of different options depending on, what do you like? What weather do you like?
So just outside of Loja, there's an alpine area in the mountains towards Catamayo. Pine trees, huge tall pine trees dominate the landscape, unlike where we are, and it's cold. Then you pop over the mountain and down, and you're into like this, desert valley.
With palm trees.
Yeah, and that's where they grow all the watermelons and some of the hot-loving things.
Yeah, and it's not far. You don't have to go across the entire country to get to a different climate. It's an hour or 2 or 3. I mean, if we go over the pass to Loja, it is cold in that pass.
Yep.
The pass from...
Frequently you are driving in the clouds.
The pass from Loja and then through Vilcabamba, we were looking at a property in Valladolid, which is dang near Peru. And
heading towards
that pass is very cold.
Very frequently you are driving through a cloud on that road through a good part of the pass where it's just hard to see the road sometimes. It's just, it's fog.
And there's, we've driven around a good bit of southern Ecuador, and there's, the different climates are just kind of amazing.
And it just, you go from one to the other. So it's really about what you're looking for. You balance that with the other things you're looking for. Again, if you go watch our Pick Your Poison video, different areas of the country have different positives and negatives.
Yeah.
It's really about what you're looking for. But overall, I don't know. I'm digging on it. We're not getting hit by the crazy tornadoes and typhoons and hurricanes, hailstorms.
Yeah, we have no real extreme weather here. And I guess that is another... I sort of don't see it as part of, everyday weather anymore, luckily. So I forget. But we have lived where hailstorm was an everyday weather potential event.
Yeah, we lost a car to a hailstorm.
It was slightly damaged. Everyone in the entire zoo lost all of their cars completely.
Totaled. Yeah, that was Colorado. So there's none of that here. Like sometimes like it rains. Sometimes it rains a lot. Roof works.
Yeah, the most that we've ever had happen is extreme amounts of rain.
Yeah.
And we've had the occasional windstorm, and by windstorm I mean it's like half an hour.
Yeah, it's just like
very short.
a weird little micro bursty thing, and there's like all this wind. Some of the neighbors who put roofs on using like 6 nails should use more than 6 nails. They lost the roof.
Well, ours is tied on with string.
Oh no, I've upgraded it to thin wire.
Oh, look at you.
And a couple of screws.
It mostly holds.
It's a very temporary structure. We're thankful for it, but
and that's part of it is we wanted to live somewhere where we could live sort of haphazardly temporary, and we can here super comfortably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the weather.
Sounds boring to talk about.
It sounds
weather.
boring, but it's critically important. It's something that you live with every day. So.
And part of it is a lot of people ask. I'm usually the one replying to comments and emails and things, and there's a lot of people asking, well, where there should I live because I want this weather? And I'm like, I can't answer that.
You spend more time with the weather than you do your husband or wife.
But I can't answer, even if you tell me exactly what weather you want, I can't answer because there are 1,000 microclimates. I could say right here where we are is this, but if you are 10 miles away, it's probably going to be different. So I can't even give you an area.
Yeah.
It's just, there's just too many microclimates to do that. So unfortunately that makes picking a place a little bit more difficult. But if you have a general idea if you want it to be hot and humid or cold and dry or somewhere in between.
Or medium humidity and cool.
It's based mostly off of elevation, realistically. So you look at that and you go like, well, there's mountain, I don't want to be that. And then you look at like flat.
And then there's your...
Like Amazonia, like we're in the mountains.
Yeah, but then there's your... How long was the windy season in Loja?
It felt like 1,000 years.
Yeah. But I think it's like 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, something like that.
But constant wind, like headache thing, something. The wind, the glass, and all the house all night. Like we thought the glass was going to break out of the windows.
It's rough. Yeah. But maybe that doesn't bother you. Maybe you're fine with wind. These are just all things to know. There are little oddities in probably every microclimate of random things that happen. We have our own random things that when you see the trees and the wind is coming from this way and this way, you go, oh, crap.
We're like, how are the trees? Oh, no.
We have learned that means there is some tiny little weird convergence. It's really just over us.
Yeah.
It's not really over the neighbors. It's just over us.
We're at the end of a valley next to a taller mountain.
And we know what that means. And we're like, oh, batten down the hatches, close the curtains. And then it passes in like half an hour. And we're fine. So that's that.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
I hope this was useful to you. Please subscribe if you want to hear more about things about Ecuador, homesteading, stuff like that. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you for the next one.